Okay, on that note, Megan, how do you feel? What do you want to get out of today?
Kelly, today I feel good. A little bit tired, but today what I'd like to get is to chat about obviously my signage for the salon, because I'm having a few issues kind of finalising that and just making a choice on what would suit that door. I would also like to discuss the face masks moving forward, and then I just wanted to have a chat to you about some product training and just try to get some ideas, because one of the girls is having quite a few issues selling products. I think she's just lost her confidence. So I was just wondering if we could have a chat around that.
Okay, good. Well, I think those are all important things, so that's good.
So Kelly, how do you feel, and what would you like to get out of our meeting today?
I'm feeling really quite good, and I think you've hit it, the things that are really important to us now, because we've got to focus down. We can't. I have to say your numbers were excellent.
Thank you.
Given that you had a day off, and you know, for where we're heading, it's not that they're great or where we want them to be. It's they're consistently going through, and whilst we're doing all this other stuff, what the worst thing that happens to companies is they get their mind somewhere else and they forget that they've got daily tasks. Mm-hmm. So, you know, our Mondays are looking good. Tuesdays are looking surprisingly good.
Yes.
The only one that I have a concern of is Saturday.
I know.
And, you know, and maybe that's just because, you know, it's cold and people don't want to be out when it gets warmer. But it's important that what we're doing now is heading towards dealing with that Saturday so that we can make it more viable for you. So, I mean, I actually think the thing that makes them great numbers is they're consistent even with everything else you're doing. Mm-hmm. And you so often see companies that do what you're doing, they forget and they just fall by the wayside. You haven't done that, so that's really good. So I'm happy about that.
Thank you.
And I agree with you about the signage. I mean, that's really pivotal to what we're doing. And it's pivotal to ultimately the strategy of the face mask. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, the strategy of our own base product.
Yes.
Right, because anyway, we'll go through that. The other thing I'd like to do is go through the numbers of the face mask, so you can see.
Before we start, can I just go back to the figures for the week quickly?
Sure.
We had on the Saturday we did our first lot of makeup classes.
Sure.
So it went well. I think it was a good starting point. We only actually had 3 clients, so 3 paying clients, and we charged them $50 for the session. That was our introductory price. So I got a filler in. So in the end, there were 4 people that were in the class. And it was a really good starting point, especially for Wayu and Marley to see, because they've never done that before. But what worked out roughly was each client spent $150 in product.
Wow.
And in honesty, like in the future, I think if I bring in a better foundation range, so that's obviously the foundation for the face, something better, I think that's going to be easier to sell. It'll be a better product, because the product that I have at the moment, it's okay, but it doesn't suit really older women's skin.
Well, but what you had is a 3-to-1 multiplier.
Yes.
That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at and saying, okay, if we do a class and if we do our job correctly, 3-to-1 is brilliant.
Yes.
So what you're saying to me is we had 3 people spend effectively $200.
Yes.
You have to be happy with that.
Over 2 hours, so it was a 2-hour class.
But even so, Megan, the 2 hours, so you're still at $75 per hour, mm-hmm. based on the 3, and then you've got a 3-to-1.
Yes.
That's how I view it. What I'm really wanting to do is say you can't leverage time,
Hmm.
right? But you can monetize it the way you've done it. So you're distributing the expense over 3 or 4 people. Now, um, 3 or 4 people at the front, was at the front of your shop.
Yes, the front. So we had a
Yeah,
lot of people kind of go by and stop and look in.
yeah, that's the other important thing. And I would have thought three, with so in effect there would have been 6 people in the front of your shop, or seven,
We had 8.
8.
So I had the 3 staff,
Yeah.
including myself, a model, and then 4 people attending. So there was 8 people, and that was
See,
covered.
that to me would have been probably maximum.
I could fit in the class because what we did was we cleared that front area and we put a long. I'll send you a photo, Kelly.
Okay. So in real terms, what there's maximal, minimal, and optimal.
Yes,
And I would have thought that 8's getting pretty close to maximal.
I think for clients to attend would be 6 would be
Yeah,
comfortable.
yeah. Then now, so if we looked at that, we drew a line. We said 2 hours, $300, and if we go to 3, it makes it a $900 2 hour,
Hmm.
which is that's really where I think we want to be.
I agree.
And if we did that every Saturday, and the fact that you create a buzz around your shop is pretty important.
Hmm. I
And
agree.
so you could see that people were looking in, right?
Yes.
Well, that's good. And at that moment, we need to have something like a signage on either side, Makeup Saturday.
I thought of that as soon as people started looking in.
Yeah, but again, that shows you how important the branding, and it's the Haven Makeup or product training Saturday.
Hmm.
So it doesn't just have to be makeup. It shows that we could create a buzz around that, which I
Exactly.
think is important.
Hmm.
Or it could be DIY Saturday, or whatever the hell you want to do. But I think based on what you're telling me, I mean, I think 3's pretty good. Who was doing the selling?
Me, I was.
Yes.
I think
You weren't actually selling, people were buying, right?
people were buying. I think the 2 girls got stage fright and just stood against the wall. Um, but I think it's just because they've never done that before. They've
Yeah,
never done any training.
and the real key to it is people buying, not you selling.
Exactly.
You get the benefits of it, and then how to use it, how to be efficient with it. They get all of that, so it's a very different reality for them. So I think that that's good. And when we talk about product training, that's what we have to watch.
Yes.
Okay, so do you want to get started first of all on signage, or do you have more to say about Saturday?
No, I'd like to start on the signage.
And so do you feel successful on your Saturday?
Yes, I felt comfortable. I ran the class, obviously, but I've done them before in the past. The feedback that we got from the women was really good. Um, it just shows me that people are interested in attending training like the makeup classes, which is good.
Do we get any footage for our Instagram?
Yes, we did. So Marley, we're working on the footage this week to use for our advertisements.
Fabulous.
So yeah, we did get a fair bit.
Oh, I'm pleased to hear that.
Yeah, so it went well.
Okay, so again, it's all tying it all together so that, when people see it, we're now creating a philosophy around the Haven.
Hmm.
And in today's world, it's really about philosophy. And um, there's a thing that says philosophy is greater than nation. And what that means is it goes across.
Hmm.
So people So if you look at your shop, it will go across the shops.
Mhm.
So what you do, people will start to say, well, they do this over here. This is what they believe in. This is how they do it. And even though you have people copying some of the ideas, they still don't have the philosophy. They've got the idea, but not the philosophy and the intention behind the idea. So that's quite good. And that's what we've got to instill in the people that work with us and all the people around us. We have to instill that this is how we do business here.
Mhm.
You know, we're about education and training, not just around the selling of the product, but we're really around how do we make it beneficial for you so you get the optimal use of the product and the optimal use of the service. And then if we do that, all of a sudden people will start to say, you'll get a name for, oh, and the name is really quite easy, the Haven.
Mhm.
So that's quite good.
Okay.
All right, so should we go to the signage? You want to bring up your screen?
I will, Kelly.
One thing for certain, when it's on the front, can we have the front of the shop? One thing for certain, when it's on the front of the shop, it stands out.
It does.
Um, yeah, I mean, that is stunning. I don't know, Megan. I don't know whether I'd have the dots or the skin and body shop on that.
I've gone back to him and asked him to send it with the dots as well.
Yeah,
The wording underneath just to see.
yeah. But other than that, I mean, holy smokes, that jumps out at you, don't you think?
I definitely.
I honestly like it. I like it, um, and I could get used to the you know, just the abrupt. It's very abrupt
Mm.
in its simplicity. It's really kicking you in the pants, isn't it?
Yeah. I think adding the skin and body shop underneath it might actually take away from that a little bit.
Yeah, and that was my first thing is, oh, geez, it's naked. But in its nakedness, it really does stand out.
I agree.
And you know the thing that really distracts from me is if we look at the next one where you have the next one down, when you get that there that um, our globe or sphere with the Haven skin and body in the background, it pulls you in.
Mm.
So if you look at it, you look at the other picture, which I don't think the person's been a very good salesperson. If you go back to the one you just showed me, the Haven, the thing that makes it look naked is that not having the Haven on that back wall.
Yes.
Now, if we saw that with the Haven on the back wall, I think you can be that stark there.
Mm.
That just, you know, that is really just saying, boom, this is who we are, the Haven.
Mm.
Right? And then you know where the glow of the light is there. I just can't for the life of me understand why they wouldn't have had your sphere there. Because when you look at it from that perspective, I think it looks pretty good.
Mm. I agree.
I mean, I'd like to see it that way. I mean, boy, oh boy, does that, you know, compared to what it looked like. Remember when I said it doesn't really stand out?
Yes.
But I mean, look at the red on that. Tell me which one do you think looks more powerful, the teal or the red?
Deal.
Yeah, I mean, it really just kicks you straight. I don't know. What does Jerry reckon? Or has he looked at it?
He hasn't looked at it.
What about your friends? What do they think?
They like it. The thing that wasn't a winner was the door signage. But they like this logo, and especially the one inside.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I think when you see that, um, you know, it's just what you've always said. I want it simple.
Mm.
How could it be more simple than that? No, I think it really stands out. Anyway, let's keep moving. Now, the part about this that I like, that I'm surprised about, is that where you have your days and your times, that stands out now too.
See, I wasn't impressed with that the hours on the right.
Uh, I'm not talking about um, the layout or anything. I'm saying it stands out.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Now,
And I think, Kelly, it will stand out more once that's in the window, then that poster will go.
yeah. Well, compared to what you used to have, this stands out.
I agree.
And um, to me, I think I'm with you on the layout. That the thing that I compare it to what was there before, and I look at this thing and I say, wow, it stands out now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I think like I think you can do the layout better. Online booking available. I tend to have the online booking underneath, not on top.
I agree.
I might move the whole thing towards the top and have online booking, and the last thing you see is the URL.
Well, I'll show you the other. I sent you a document during the week with some ideas. So I'll bring that one up next, Kelly, and I'll show you what I was thinking for the hours.
Yeah. Well, the one thing for certain that I would say our font and the coloring is great.
Yes, I agree.
The organization of it is something that we need to consider and say, okay, maybe.
Can I ask you something? Do you think that this should be a bit bigger, or do you think that's a good size for that area?
I think proportion to the area, if it's that size. I mean, if you look at it to the top, it's now starting to, against the lighting, it's starting to go dark, and down the bottom. I mean, if you moved it down a bit, it probably wouldn't be that centralized. But I mean, it can only be marginally bigger anyway.
Okay.
And the size of it, the question I would ask is, what difference would it make if it was, a couple centimeters in diameter greater? Because that's all you're going to really get, isn't it?
Yes.
So what would the difference in the price be? And you might be limited by the size that they actually make them.
Mm.
And if you go out to the larger size, you might find that there's a problem. I think it looks good, and I think it pulls you into the shop. So if you look at the sign above it, right, and now you look at, pulls you into the focus, into the middle of that, I think it does that pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
You understand my point?
Yes.
So you see the haven on top, and then when you look in, it actually does quite a good job.
Okay.
To me, it's not worth paying a lot more money for it. But if you can get it a couple extra centimeters, 3 or 4 centimeters, 2 to 5 centimeters, let's say, that's the most you're going to get.
Okay.
And so, if you looked at it from that point of view, if it didn't cost any more, why wouldn't you? But if it's becomes outrageous, then I think that it's something you got to watch. But I actually think that area looks really way better.
Definitely.
What's your florist reckon about the idea?
She loves it.
And so she's had a look at it, the way that looks.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I always trust people that have been doing it for a while more than I trust myself. I just know that my eyes like it.
Mm.
Now, you were a bit worried about the balls. What was your concern there?
To be honest, it just doesn't. I'm not. I feel like I'm just putting. That's just going there to just go there. Like
Yeah.
I don't find that that's really advertising or fits in with the salon. Can I show you something else?
Sure. I understand what you're saying.
I just
But
feel like if I'm going to spend this much money to get something done, I would expect to have something good, like something that I look at and think that looks great.
yeah, I actually don't mind it, but I understand exactly what you're saying, because the reason why you have it is because you don't want people walking into the door, and it's debatable as to whether they'll pick up on what that's saying. And on the coloring, it's really juice coloring, isn't it?
It is, which I sent them, which is fine, but it just doesn't really.
It looks like a candy store.
Bear with me, I'm just opening it up. This is very crude. Marley and I did this week just as a kind of run around. What I was thinking about, I'll just reshare this, was what am I trying to achieve on the doors? And like we were saying, it's to really educate people. So I was thinking if we did something, because realistically, those doors, people really see when we're closed of a nighttime. I was wondering.
I already like this better.
Okay. So obviously, as I said, these aren't the pictures. It's very crudely done. But I thought what we could do is we could have a picture on the side of somebody with a face mask on. And then we could utilize our 3 circles, because I'm really trying to look at our branding and introducing colors and using the 3 circles that we have either side of the logo.
Yeah.
So the other thing that we came up with was, instead of having wording in the circles, I think this one's cleaner though. We could have symbols which then move on to Facebook, Instagram, our menu.
Yeah, and you know what? For me, this is a way better idea.
Yay.
Well, I mean, it just, when you look at it, it's a way better idea.
I just thought I'm advertising the product, which is the face mask, that's what I'm wanting to promote. And I just think it's a bit of fun.
Yeah, well, the reality of it is that we're going to steer the ship towards being able to sell your own product line, and it's, I can see that 3 product lines could get out to 10 or 20 product lines in the future if we manage it correctly.
I agree.
So it now becomes a line, and Mask and Me makes a good sense. Rather than saying face mask and me, that allows you to go into all the different parts of the body that can have the cover and the treatment, right?
Exactly. And what I was wanting to ask was, because the Mask Me was what I sent through to Christine, which was kind of like the story of the masks, or the name of the series of the 3 masks.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we use that also as a name for the masks, and create the Instagram as well as the Haven, and have the Mask Me as the tag, the Instagram tagline, where everybody tags it. Or do you?
Well, I think you understand that way better than I do. Okay. But I think that Mask and Me, although mask connotates, the face, because that's where the mask goes. It could be Skin and Me.
Well, I think that Mask Me is catchy. That's why I like it. And I think that.
Yeah. I agree with you. And I think, Skin and Me sounds stupid. But, you've got to, I think if you have Mums and Bubs, Men Welcome, and then you can have, cosmetics or makeup, and then You can then have your bowls that talk about the generic of what you do, not the specific. Tanning is a specific.
Exactly.
But what you're doing is men welcome. I mean, that now goes to generic.
Mm-hmm.
What are men welcome for? And then you get more details. So Mums and Bubs Monday works for me. Mass and me. You can have that. And I think you're right. It's as opposed to what we've got on the door. That to me is just like a chocolate shop that's got its different wrappers and stuff like that, and they're colorful, and you've got the things. I like the mustache. Men welcome, Mass and me, Mums and Bubs.
The only thing I thought with this one was I could actually use these for all the social media and on the menu, but I just thought it was getting too busy.
Well, it's iconic, which is what we're trying to develop is the icons. And I think you're right. We've got 6 dots that we can use. Now we got 3 on the other side of the haven, haven't we?
And I'll just show you my next one, Kelly. This was for the opening hours. That was the first one because I thought, why not incorporate the circle again?
Yeah, it's consistent.
There's 2 of them. Or even if I didn't have the circle, I just think that wrap that they have from the window to the window, I think it needs to have space either side.
Yeah.
But I think the top one is very simple and clean.
I think in that space, though, I like the welcome one better, and I'd also have online,
Okay.
online, and the on that one because I think that one frames it quite well.
Would you just do this? So Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So if I take all that font and just move it to here.
Yeah, I think I'd be inclined to do that, and then online bookings available. Boom, and I'd have that. So.
Yep.
I would frame it the way you're framing it there too.
Okay, perfect.
I think the circle of it. Whilst I know that we're going that way, I still think we're framing the hours, which is what you're saying. Here's the frame of our hours versus. I don't know why. I prefer the welcome.
That's okay. I'll change it.
Opening hours.
I like how it has welcome.
So do I.
Okay.
The 2 best marketing words are welcome and thank you.
I didn't know that.
Well, I mean, I'm telling you, thank you is the single most important thing you can say to your customer. In one of my past lives, I used to own 400 gumball machines, and we did it so we could teach our kids about business and that. And Livia was watching this little kid put the 20 cents in the machine. And she said, Dad, you didn't say thank you. And I said, what do you mean? She said, you're always saying say thank you. She said, but we didn't thank that person for their money. And so we said, okay, well, we cleaned up all our machines. We taught our kids you got to look after things, and we cleaned up the machines. And she said, well, how do we say thank you? And I said, well, why don't we make little signs? So we got a laminating machine, and we just simply put thank you on each machine. And our sales went up 30%.
Wow.
30%. I'm not kidding you. We used to keep track of it. And the second we cleaned, it could be the fact that we cleaned machines, or it could be the simple fact we put thank you on the machine. And our kids felt better about giving the money when they had the thank you. So you can't underestimate, simple things like thank you. And, in my mind, it's really very important that whenever we can say it, like, you're welcome here and thank you for coming.
I agree.
And when you're educating your staff, those are the things that you want to do. So, when you're doing your training and someone asks you a question, one of the smart things you can say is, well, thank you for the question. Good question. Because you're wanting to make the person feel welcome and safe. And so by acknowledging that they've asked the question, by saying thank you for that question, and you move on, that's just good communication.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's something that people don't. It almost sounds crass, and it took me a long time to really do that. But through training, I just know that when someone asks you a question, it's, well, thank you for that question. And here's my thoughts on it. And then the next person, well, thank you for that question. And you're constantly making them feel welcome.
Yes.
Not, oh, it's not another question. So you just train you. And a lot of times that's what I think. I think, Jesus, not another one.
Well, that's what we say now when we answer the phone is welcome to the Haven.
Yes. Welcome to the Haven. This is Meghan.
Mm-hmm.
And that's and that it's like, I can't stand it when people say, hello, Kelly speaking. My sister-in-law says, hello, Susie speaking. And I said, so is that a hyphenated Susie speaking? It's like, drives me around the twist. They don't get it. It's like, it's welcome to the Haven. This is Meghan.
I agree.
It's again, it's just so welcoming.
I know. I agree, Kelly.
So, but that's something for training. That's something to get a consistency for your women so that they understand it. And the next thing that I always insist on, welcome to Haven. This is Meghan. And how can I support you? And then they'll say, can I get your name, please? Not your name and your phone number, so I can speak to you like I'm speaking directly to you. Oh, Meghan. Oh, great. Thanks, Meghan. How can I support you? And then you use their name as often as you can.
I agree, Kelly.
Why do you use their name as often as you can?
Because it feels comforting, or they feel important.
Yeah. But the second you use their name, what does it do?
I think it breaks down barriers. It makes it more of a friendly approach.
It's immediate. Which word do you think they hear most in their life?
Their name.
Their name. So all of a sudden, oh, Kelly, oh, you're talking to me? You understand? Yeah. It immediately awakens the brain to direct it directly to them. It's like, when we put the arrow at the front of the shop, the arrow is like, this is where I want you to look. Calling their name out is acknowledging who they are. And so it's really very important that when you're doing that, you just acknowledge who they are. Oh, hi, Meghan. Boom, straight away. And you see it in your son. You go, Baron, what does he do immediately? Looks over and he's saying, oh, that's me, right? And how many years do we condition him then on that?
A lot.
A lot. The thing that I find myself really not wanting to say is, hey, Seb, no. I can't stand saying no, because immediately it's like, and with their name. But it's the preconditioning is my point. Welcome is a preconditioning. Thank you is a preconditioning. Using their names a preconditioning. Those are all things around training and education. that are really very important.
Hmm.
Then you go into other stuff, but it builds rapport. You know, I watch people go to trade shows, and they don't realize the simplest thing to say at a trade show when someone's walking past your booth is good morning.
I agree.
Okay, so what does good morning do?
Opens up the conversation.
Yeah, and also is a pattern interrupt, because they're all trying to hide. It's like, good morning, good morning. And then all of a sudden when you'll see, oh, you're talking to me. Yeah, I'm talking to you. And then my next thing is, how's your day going? Great. So what are you here for? See, you immediately go into, so what are you here for? And they say, oh, I'm looking for this or that. And say, oh, well, I've got some of that. Do you want to take a few minutes to look at what I have? It's always welcoming, like you're saying. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And they say, oh, no, I don't want to. And I say, okay, well, have a look around. And if you really want to talk to somebody, come back and we'll have a chat. You know, and you get into it. Oh, my name's Kelly. If you need to come back, what's yours? Boom, it's rapport. That, you know, you're always building that rapport. It always amazes me when you go there and people are sitting back in their booth waiting for someone to come in.
I just went to a trade show last month, July, and I was surprised at how many stockers didn't actually make conversation.
Yeah.
Lost because, and it was good for me because I would love to be at the next trade show next year with the masks. Because even when I went and spoke to people, they didn't ask my name, they didn't get my details, even when I said I was interested in the product. So
Yeah, but they're too busy looking at the phone. There's no rapport.
I agree. I agree.
You know, it's like, then it's, can I tap your phone and get all your information? Tap. Oh no, you can't do that anymore. You know, it's like, that's like, are you going to give me a transmitted disease? No tapping here. Anyway,
I know.
but again, those are just simple communication skills. If your people have them, especially in today's world where we're getting so not used to communicating, that's the differentiator, is your ability to communicate. Now we've got to do it online, we've got to do that, but we've got to be able to do in person as well.
I agree.
Okay, so in my opinion, the rest.
Excuse me. Can I ask one more question, Kelly?
You can ask that. I mean, it's your day, Megan. You ask whatever you want.
Just on this one, with the imagery, do you think that it would be smart to use the same imagery here that we use on the face mask packaging? Or do you think just to come up with something for the interim?
Well, I think we want to be consistent. Um, and like you're getting the icon. Yeah, I'd like to get an icon, and it wouldn't be. You can actually go to these online commercial artists, and you probably get an icon for about $10.
That's what I wanted to ask was how I go about doing that, but I'll do that. I'll just go online.
Well, I don't know whether you see all the little icons that I have.
I've seen them, I think, on your website, the hose
Yeah,
mask.
yeah, but let me share my screen, and I'll show you something. Desktop. Okay.
All the kid photos.
Yeah, but you see here,
Mm-hmm.
these are all icons. I own them all.
Okay.
And you know, if I tell a story, like I've got a story, Success Begins With Me,
Mm-hmm.
and see all of these icons. I buy them. It costs me $10 an icon.
Where do you get those ones from, Kelly? Do you get someone to design them from a site?
I had somebody in Philippines design it for me. But you see, so, like an icon like that, it's like it's my copyright. The only reason why I do it is I don't want someone telling me I can't use it.
Do you have to copyright the icons?
I don't copyright them because I think implicitly they're mine because there's nobody else that has a copyright on them. So I just don't want people stopping me from using them. You see, and then I've got that. All of those are little things that I created. This is a thing that I did for Africa, right? And so you can see, like these icons are ones that I create. So you can see, most people don't know what 168 is. It's the most important number in a business life. You know what 168 is?
I remember we've spoken about it. I can't remember what the number is right now.
Hours in a week.
That's right.
That's when your patterns are set. But see, look at stuff like this. You know, it seems crazy, but it only really costs. You know, I know what I paid. I paid $10 an icon. But they're all and the reason why I like them is nobody can say I can't use them.
Exactly.
Or they can't say, oh, well, that's mine. And so the problem that you run into, just hang on, it's Chris. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Chris, I'm on the call to Megan. I'll ring you straight back. Is there anything you need? In about half an hour, 40 minutes. Is that okay? Okay, talk to you. Bye. Sorry, Megan, that's Chris. He's in Perth. But you get my point?
Yes.
And I haven't done it once. I've done it. I have literally hundreds.
Mm-hmm. And it's all consistent with your brand. So it's, yeah, I understand.
Well, it's not just consistent with my brand. I like telling stories. So you get then in the stories, right? You know the Pied Piper, the king, the Pope, and the Piper.
Yes.
And so I like telling the story about how we're all a bunch of rats being led over the cliff. Or don't go to a fight don't fight with an elephant with a pea shooting gun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just all of that stuff. Like I own all the copyright on all of these. Mm. So if you ever need an icon of something, I've got them. I've got over 300.
Okay.
So I don't ask you to do anything I don't do myself.
Okay.
And where there's that thing online. What's the name of it? You can go online and you can get subcontractors online.
There's like Fiverr. There's heaps. I've used them all before.
Yeah, and that's all I would do. I would get it unique to me, and especially if it's like cartoonic. It's a very different matter if it's like a picture of or somebody's face, and then you run into trouble of, oh, they say they can use it. Now, long term, all of those icons that you're setting, if it costs you $100 to get all the icons that you're talking about, that's money well spent because you can use them over and over and over again.
I agree.
So that's what I would do. And those balls, instead of getting somebody else, like you're pretty good anyway, but you can get a graphic artist and you can put it out, and it's a day's work and it'll cost you about $100, and then it's done. And then you get them in the different files, but make sure you get the density of the file in that. Mm-hmm. So you want them to be, I forget what the
PS.
Um, yeah, I forget what the file size. You want to make sure you get a real dense file size so they can increase and decrease.
Yeah. Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
I
They need
forget
to be print
what,
work. Yeah.
what's that?
They need to be able to be print.
Yeah, they need to expand and contract,
Yes.
and they need to hold their shape.
Perfect.
And I'm inclined to do that because you get some pretty talented people.
And I think that as we were saying, I can look at using that mask face on the packaging for the mask.
Yeah, and now it becomes icons on Instagram, Facebook, shop, material, and you don't get into copyrights or trademarks. And ultimately, we might trademark it ourselves. I'm going to on Thursday. I'm meeting an animated studio in Daisy Hills.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious as to what they do and the expense of it, because you could have little animations for your Instagram. I'm looking at animations for some of the stuff I do, but I'm not willing to pay the money that animators want.
No.
So anyway, that's the cheapness of me.
There's nothing wrong with being cheap, Kelly.
All right.
All right.
Okay, so we're done. Are we any more on the signage?
No, that one's finished.
Okay, so do we want to go to the face mask?
We do.
Okay, I looked at the PowerPoint from Christina. Is there anything on that we can use?
I still haven't finished going through it. Let me get back to you on that one. There was some information.
Well, there's some slides that if we got the rights to use, it'd be pretty good because they've obviously paid for the models.
Mm-hmm.
Or we can say, well, similar to what Juice does, we can use some of those and have our own little presentation.
Yeah, I agree. I think we could definitely use some of their wording and their facts.
Yeah.
Let me get back to you on those ones.
Okay, so you did get it, and she was good for a word. The only thing she still hasn't done is given me definitive pricing.
I know, that's what I was thinking.
But I still based it on, I don't know whether you saw my spreadsheet.
Yes,
Do you want me to bring it up?
that would be good.
Okay, so let's go there.
I wanted to show you something quickly, Kelly.
Okay, show me that.
With I get beauty magazines that come out every month or so. And I just got one that came out. I just opened it up this morning, and I've started to see face masks in quite a few places. And there's a new company that are advertising face masks. So you can't really see it. I'll take a photo and send it to you.
No, I can see it.
It was interesting because I contacted Marley, my young girl in the salon, and she got my second, because I get two. There was actually a face mask in the magazine. So she's going to bring that in so we can have a look at it.
Can you ring and get the pricing?
Yes, I will. I was looking this morning, but I'll ring them.
Because that's really that gives us a good roadmap.
So this one is an actual skincare company. So they stock skincare as well. So I'll find out the information. But well, I just thought that was interesting considering that's what we've been talking about. And then they've taken out advertisements as well further down. Can you see that?
Yeah, instant beauty face mask. I mean, tell me this isn't where we're going. I want to know, and do they sell them individual or in packets?
They say they're single sheet, but I'll find out all the information.
Yeah, we want to know box size, single sheets, and pricing. Because that's a pretty good indicator, and it allows us then to go out very quickly to go out to the people and say, okay, now we're running this, we're already on top of this. But you get, I mean, if a company is sending an agent to Australia to run an office out of Sydney, you get that they think the time's pretty close.
I agree. And it's just, in the last probably month, I've started to see a few face masks here and there. So
Well, fingers crossed we're on the right train.
I think we are.
Can you definitely get me the pricing so that we can really position ourselves well?
I will. I'll
Because the truth is, you don't want to be the cheapest.
No.
You want to be mid-pack, high quality, right? And so in the beginning, you know, there's going to be a lot of things come on the market that are going to be so-so, but they're going to get people used to the idea. And then in the salons, it's like at the Haven, we choose our mask carefully. You know, we say, you know, for us, it's not about the price. It's about, you know, the quality of the mask and the benefits that you receive from the mask. You know, we've got to be very, very careful, because it's the way that they're putting them out in the chemist now, I don't like.
No.
You know, it's just prostituting it, but it gets everybody in line with it. But it to me, it's like, oh, really?
I agree.
It's a little bit out. But anyway, let me share my screen.
Yes.
And if you can send me that picture, and I might start looking and doing some pricing on it as well. Okay, desktop. Okay, so you can see my spreadsheet.
Yes.
Okay, now it looks, when you look at it, I've given the prices that she's given me. So mask 1, 2, and 3, and then the prices that I had, right?
Yes.
But instead of like on this one, I used the formula of 35%, but I didn't do that here and here, because I figured it's not really about this price. It's about the size of the packet. The packet size will be the same. It's the ingredients that change, right?
Yes.
So I didn't see how I could not charge the same freight or the same costs across all of them.
Yes.
But then when I went down on the packet size, I used 35%. Because on this dollar value here, I realized that we've got to have some differentiator. So on the expense of it, what I did was I said, okay, at this level here, it's 30 cents a sheet. On this one here, it's 35% of the box price. You understand my point?
Yes.
It's really important that from the beginning, you get your parameter right. Now, we need to make sure that we're close on the 35. 35 might not be enough, but anyway, I've done that. So I've got our mask cost, I've got what it will cost to land it, and now you're seeing the landed expense in USD.
Kelly, sorry, can you just explain to me again why you have the 35% on mask 1 but not mask 2 and mask 3?
Well, because at 87 cents, it's the high point, right? Okay, the weight and the size of it, it's not going to alter that much between mask 1 and mask 3.
Okay.
The packaging is going to be about the same, right? So even though as a percentage of the price, it's a much higher percent, but the reality of it is your expense is going to be the same. You know, if it's 30 cents for an 87 cent mask, it's going to be 30 cents for a 48-cent mask. Its price is not going to go down because it's based on weight and size.
Okay, I understand.
Not in the pricing on the other is ingredient.
Yep. Yes.
So that's why I did it. I mean, it's slight. Now on this one here, because it's in a box and there's 5 of them, I reasoned that 35% is probably a fair thing to do. So 35% of this one here, I could get away with it, and it gives us that variable.
Yes.
Okay, does that make sense to you?
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, and so this is landed USD.
Okay.
I haven't converted it yet, so I'm saying it's going to cost us $1.17 per mask, $1.07 or 78 cents per mask, right?
Yes.
And then I do the conversion. And when I've converted it at 71 cents.
Yes.
Okay, and now today it's 72, 73. But I don't think that we can do our pricing on 71, 70. You know, we're going to be looking at 70. 71 is going to be even high. I think we, long term, when we get our pricing right, it could be as low as 67.
Okay.
All right, but we need to factor that in.
Yes.
And then on the retail price, I took a real risk. I went 8 times.
Wow. Okay.
8 times on the AUD. But I still only got the 1323. That's why it's important to find out how much those masks are. Because you know that they're gonna be coming off a base around 87 or less. But what they're allowing for is they're allowing for advertising in magazines. And so we may have to advertise in magazines, but we've got to be able to afford it. Right? So we do that. So now I think that from the high side, that makes sense to me. What do you think?
Perfect sense.
Or do you think it's too high or too low?
I think it's just about educating, because at the moment we're selling the collagen eyes for $8.50. So to purchase a full sheet mask, for me personally, I wouldn't even bat an eyelid at $13, $14. I think once it goes over the $15 mark, I would. But I think it's actually quite good pricing.
Okay, and I basically looked at it from the packet size too, at 66, 58, and 36.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So,
considering one of the boxes that I did purchase previously as a tester, the first box was 42 and then the second box was 80. So it kind of sits between.
okay, so we're okay, right?
I think so.
Okay, now when I looked at it and said, okay, we can wholesale. If we wholesale and we give a 55% discount, which, you know, to some of our, we can, you know, instead of this argument that you says, oh, we've got this and we're not going to be able to do that, you'd be able to say our normal discount is 50%, but if we're moving something, we can give you 55%, or if we have a special deal, we can go 55. But if you look at that as a relationship to your landed cost, you're still where we want to be, right? So where are we at? Let's see. I didn't really look at that.
So 441.
So you're looking at 3.6 times.
Okay.
You understand my point?
Yes.
So 3.6 at that moment still allows us money to market, to advertise, and it allows us the volumes that we're going to need to create. And I think that in a lot of ways, people are looking for someone to put the retail price and then allow them to make the money and show them how to make the money.
Mm.
Versus, oh, you can buy it for $1.65. Right? So you buy it at $1.65, and then you might easily say, oh, well, we can sell it for $5.96 and we're making good money. But the problem is it doesn't allow you any place to grow. We've got to be able to say after 6 months we're doing quite well with them and we want to start to advertise them and get them out there further. How are you going to do it? So we've got to have this in mind. And then the same thing applies if you're having sales. Now look at it. This is a 10% discount, a 20%, a 30%. And remember what we said is we want to be able to do that in the shop. If we do it in the shop and we give a 30% discount, right, we're still at 5 times. And does our customer feel good?
Yes.
But do we? This is not for the average one of your staff to understand what we're doing. This is just to say, look, if you're wanting to feel good, if you're wanting to give a deal to a friend, you can, give a deal because you think that they'll buy it. You can give a deal at 30%. But where you do your 30% is not per mask. You do it down here on the box. You might give a 10% discount on a mask, but a 30% discount on a box. You understand my point?
Yes.
That's why you do small exercises like this, so your mind can relate to what you're doing.
It's interesting to see it laid out, because then it makes a lot more sense, obviously, than just saying 30% or 40%.
You got to know the relationship, right? And if a salon came in and said, I don't really want to promote the Haven, but I want your mask, you say no problem, 30% discount. If you promote it, you can have a 50% discount, and on your first order, I'll give you 55. I'm not making much, but I'm interested in getting it out there. Mm-hmm. You've got to have room to move, Megan. You've got to be able to do deals. Now, what's the worst thing that happens to us?
Is that the masks don't sell?
Well, the mask will always sell. It's just the price. Mm. What happens if we have to sell them for $3.20?
We still make a profit.
We still make a margin that will lead to a profit. My brother was a part owner in 300 ladywear stores in Canada. And they used to go to the fashion sales, and they used to buy the 6-month-old fashion. And they bought some, I call them singlets. I don't know what you call them when women wear them, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
And they paid 50 cents for 500,000 of these singlets. And the first time, and their retail price on these singlets, when they came out in fashion, was something like $25. And so what they said is, 50% discount on the $25. So they sold them at $12.50, knowing they paid 50 cents. And they sold something like a third of that stock at the $12.50. And so what was the next thing? Below cost. Mm-hmm. So what did they do? They gave another 50% on the 50%.
Wow.
But when they finally, the last one sold for $3, right? They clearance, gotta go. They pushed them all out at $3. So even though the retail was 25, they were able to market them, and they pushed out 500,000 of these singlets in less than 2 months.
Wow.
But that's understanding that the real art of the business is the pricing. And it's like, there's lots of things about the story that I could tell you, but the bottom line of it is you've got to be able to know profit is made when you buy, and then the art of the business is when you're starting to sell and know what you need to do. And you've got to set a line. We've got to set the retail price. That's why when we look at these masks, we want to be positioned. These guys are, who's doing the advertising for us now?
for the
For our mask, who's doing the advertising?
the user.
No. That magazine's advertising the mask for us.
Yes.
Now, what we've got to do is take advantage of the advertising on that mask.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got to see where they pitch the market, because there's always a retail price in the market. You don't want to come below that retail price, because it doesn't allow us to do what we're doing here. Do you understand my point?
Yes.
So what we want to do is we want to be pitching the point to the market value. Now, the rest of it's marketing and branding, but we need to get our pricing correct on it. That's why I've done this and said, okay, let's have a good look at it. Now, I could be incorrect in our landing, so we might have to adjust those.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at it, you can see, do I have plenty to play with at my retail price in case I've made mistakes on the far end?
Yes.
Yeah, so, that's why I think it's important. But I also think it's important, if I look at this thing here, and it goes to 1.1, you look what it does. So at that moment, the 0.78, you can see we can start playing with it when we start to know the different pricing, and we've just got a formula. You understand my point?
Yes.
And I have no doubt we'll get some deals. And when we get the deals, we know how to pass on the deals, right?
Yes.
So I don't know if this formula is correct yet, but when we get the formula, we'll know exactly how to do our pricing so that we can set it up in our price lists. Mm-hmm. And then our discount structures.
Yes.
And it allows us to have volume wholesalers, and it also allows us to have, not volume, but just retail service outlets. The retail service outlets would not get the same as a volume, and those are decisions you can make when you got your pricing right. Mm-hmm. You see how you've got a lot more control now than what you do with juice?
Yes.
That's why we do it, Megan. That's why we've been, banging our head against the wall here for a while. But at least we can see some light coming out, and we can see the wall falling down in front of us. I mean, the fact that you were able to get someone to send us 300 masks on the off chance that you will buy without an agreement is pretty significant.
I think that was you, Kelly.
No, what that was relationship over time.
I agree.
Right? It's the constant talking to them. You can see size doesn't matter. It's the relationship that matters. They couldn't care less. And the other thing that it tells you? The market's starting to establish, and we're at the beginning of establishing the market.
I agree.
And as we establish that market, we're now getting into a place where we can understand exactly what needs to happen. And, things like, all the different lotions and potions that are coming out now are making it easier and easier for us to sell. But we're taking a niche. And our niche is skin cover, really. It's not just masks. It's how do we cover your skin with something that does what we want it to do, and in a specific area, and however you pump it. But that's what's going on. Does that make sense to you?
Perfect sense.
Okay, so you've got that. If you can send me the pricing, and then I'll do some comparative pricing.
Kelly, would we end up selling these online as well?
It's up to you, Megan.
Okay.
That's the thing that you've got to get, is what happens if we don't have to sell them online. I personally like relationship selling. I don't like this, oh, you can go here and buy it. I'm like you. I'd like to say, no, the thing that makes us unique is we're person to person. You know, what I can see is I can see you hopping in that flash car of yours, going from salon to salon and selling it and just saying, boom, you're running your salon, you're running your service center and your training center. You've already got that.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine if you look at all the salons you can go to, and you're that kind of person that can do it, right? And you get on there, and if you're selling these, just looking at, if you're selling these things wholesale at 534 and or 593, and you've got minimum of 100 masks, it doesn't take very long to get past your $500. And you know, it could only take you a few hours, and then you set it up so that they're constantly purchasing from you, and you teach them how to sell them.
Yes.
I mean, that's what it's about for me.
Exactly.
And now, do you need the rentable space? You know, it just gives you something that gives you a niche.
I agree.
And you know, and you're a really good business person. I don't know, you know, from a salon point of view, but I suspect you have to be pretty good at that too. But you have a slanting towards good business. And you know, I'm telling you, I'm going to get the girls from Taiwan down, and there's a couple of them that have taken a similar path to what we're taking you on now. And you know, are they setting the world on fire? Not really, but are they doing very well? Yes. But they want to make a difference, and it takes time to do that. You know, there's nothing I know a woman that does exactly what you do, has the same sense of what you're doing with the staff that you work with, and she does very well. And she's into skin and body. You know, Amy's just hair, but I've worked with a lot of them, and I just know that this is the coming market for women in affluent societies. We're an affluent society. So anyway, so let's stop sharing that. Now, the last thing that we need to do, do you have any questions on that?
No, Kelly.
The thing that we must do is do comparatives. We can't just work in the world of numbers and say, oh, other numbers don't matter. We have to look at what the market's doing. So the fact that you found that thing is great. Let's look at that. We'll look at the one from the chemist, and we'll look at that one, and we'll take midpoints. Mm-hmm. And then we'll work out what it actually does cost.
Sounds good.
All right, and then we got to take into account storage and stuff like that. But I think as a general proposition, we're looking pretty good right now. And what I like the most, Megan, I like mitigating risk.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And we'll only be as good as you are at enrolling people to be part of this. Mm-hmm. Right? In me, you got a guy that can crunch a good deal, but it's getting out there. The relationship side of it, I'm not nearly as good. I mean, if I want a relationship, I send Anna. I don't go myself. Right? And the same thing for you. If we want to develop the relationships, it's got to be you.
Yes.
You know, I like to be the wizard behind the scene.
Kelly, I have no issue doing that. I think I just and I'm confident now. I think I just need to work on understanding a few more selling techniques, selling but not selling, if that makes sense. So
well, you know the best salespeople are the people that serve.
Yes.
That's it. You know, you can talk about, oh, I remembered their birthday and all that. No, you want to be the best at your product. You want to know your pricing. You want to know your market. You want to know your customers. That's it. And then you want to language towards. The fastest way to change anything are the words you use, period. And the more you use the words, the more you change yourself. Because the first rule of education, and you should write this down, the absolute first rule is you talk to yourself first. Do you understand what that means?
No,
Okay. Do you have a little voice going on in your head right now?
all the time.
All the time. Who do you think's talking to you?
Me.
Yeah, it's, we spend our lives talking to ourselves.
I was going to say all my many personalities.
Yeah, well, but it's true. We all have those personalities. But the second you realize that, the second you realize it's not even a voice, it's a projection of what you collect on a daily basis. We hear it as a voice because we have language. And language is the words you use and the way you use them. And so when you're educating the young women that come into your sphere of influence, you've got to realize they've got shit going on in their minds, just like everybody else. And I shouldn't say shit, but we got shit. We got shit going on,
Yeah.
right? And you're always talking to yourself first. And you can see it all over the world. You can see all the freaking lies. Everybody lies.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, what you've got to do is you've got to refine the way they speak to themselves. So you can say lack of confidence. Okay, I've got a lack of confidence. No problem. What you want to do is give them the confidence by the communication projection. So it's important to us. The reason why we changed it to the Haven, right? The Haven is really very simple. So what does the Haven mean? It means the one and only greatest place you can come to take care of your skin and your body. Simple as that. Oh, that's a bit boasting, and say, well, why would I do any less than that? Why would I not boast? You know, the number one thing that Trump teaches in his Art of the Deal, he says, you always call yourself the greatest. Nobody else is going to call you the greatest. You got to call yourself the greatest. You know, the Haven is saying, this is the place.
Mhm.
It's like saying it without saying it, right? The means one and only. And people might not get that. Most people don't know what the means. And Haven is something that's part of who you are. You want people to feel safe. Safe, secure, and welcome are those words we would use.
Yes.
Okay, so you say to yourself, are they welcome? Are they safe? Are they secure? The reason why you bring your mom and your bub here is because you feel safe and secure. The reason why a man can come to you is because they feel safe in who they are. Even men feel vulnerable, right? But it's okay to come here. You're welcome here. So your leading word is welcome. You understand? Words like welcome and thank you. And because that's what you're talking about. If you're really looking at safe, secure, how would you develop your language around safe and secure? And welcoming.
How would we develop?
Yeah, it's like what words are meaningful to you, what words are meaningful to your staff. See, you involve them in the Instagram and they start to get it. You think about the vulnerability that you've had with some of the people that are willing to go on Instagram, showing their face, showing their baby, showing that's vulnerability. But that's also say they feel safe and they feel secure. You understand my point?
Yes.
If they didn't feel safe and they didn't feel secure, would you be able to do it?
No.
Especially in this world of Instagram and all the rest of it, and where it's going. You want your people to know that it's okay, and you're tasteful, and you're not doing anything other than representing your business in that environment. Because what you're doing is the first thing you've got to realize is the Haven is an environment with a philosophy.
Yes.
Does that make sense to you?
Yes, Kelly.
That's what we've been doing. We've been creating this environment. You know, from my perspective in this environment, it's great that it's welcoming. It's great that it's safe. It's great that it's secure. It's great that you're so sociable. I'm saying to you, it's got to be profitable.
Yes, I agree.
right? And so it's but again, we need to be upfront about that. We can't say, oh well, we forgo profit for this, and we may forgo margin for something, but we don't forgo profit. Do you understand my point? You're frozen, Megan. Are you still there?
Still here. I think you froze.
No, well,
Can you hear me?
one of us froze, but anyway, we're okay now.
Kelly, I think it was with what you were just saying. I think yesterday we had a client come in, and she actually asked us to take photos of her and her baby to share on social media because she was in a mother's group the other day and someone made a comment that they got kicked out of a salon. So I'll just show you quickly. So she went online and told everybody about us. Can you see that?
Yes, very good.
So we're just going to start using those this week. But I've also got a little thank you that I've given her as well, just to say thank you for choosing us and thank you for your support.
Isn't that exactly what we just talked about?
Exactly.
Tell me that's not going to sell.
I know.
Wow. Oh, and I love the teal top too.
Well, that's the uniform that we currently have.
Wow. That does tell me that doesn't look great.
I know. And Marley's doing that this week, but she's also got some footage of the treatment that we're putting up. But this is one of our regular clients, and that was her idea to take photos. That was really lovely because we normally do ask and take photos, but that was her idea. So I think going back to talking about feeling safe and secure and welcome.
Yes. And that's a good starting point for your training your staff and say, how do you think we got that? How do you get to this point? You get to that point because it's your environment and the philosophy that you have inside that environment. You could go to 100 salons and not be welcome because it's a pain in the ass. But this is really quite good. Okay, what are direct questions that you want around product training? What is it that you think that we can support you with?
I'm not sure. I think my issue is I've been doing training with the girls on the products. But there's been for instance, last week there was Marley, my young girl that was in the photo, sold $1,000 in product. My other employee, YU, sold $150. And when I spoke to the girls, we were having a chat about products. I feel that YU is not confident in selling the product. I just feel that they've never really been taught, done any formal training around how to, I'm not sure if I know the correct words to say, how to more so sell the product without selling.
Yeah, no, the correct way of saying is how do you get people to buy?
Exactly. And I'm just not sure if you can recommend, if you know anything that I can look at to help me with training with them, because.
Well, Megan, I'm going to make an offer to you. Why don't I come in one Saturday afternoon? Mm-hmm. Why don't we sit down and why don't we talk, as a group, why don't we talk and say, look, this is what we're trying to do. This is our philosophy. And how can we support you? Mm-hmm. Okay. And what you want to hear is you want to hear the words they use. Your job's going to be to write down the words they use. And then we got to say, okay, well, you use this word. What if we just changed one word? Mm-hmm. And selling really is understanding that it's a communication cycle between two entities, mm-hmm. right? And a lot of times the reason why people can't sell is they're not comfortable with the product. They don't have enough product knowledge.
I think that's one of the things, Kelly. The other thing is with one of my girls, the older one, she keeps saying to me and I've just been listening to what she's saying when we talk about selling packages. So selling, say, 3 facials. She keeps saying to me, well, I wouldn't buy that. I wouldn't buy that. I don't have money for that. I wouldn't buy that. So I feel like in her head, she's told herself that because she won't purchase that, other people wouldn't purchase that.
Yeah, it's what they tell themselves. That's my point to you. And exactly what you're saying, I wouldn't buy that. So that's why you can't allow her to see the price.
Mm-hmm.
Because already she's got preconditioning about what someone should pay for something. That's why we do comparative pricing.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we say, look, what we're looking at is value. If we find out someone's selling masks for $20 and we sell it for $13, all of a sudden they're saying, oh, we're a value, because that's what goes on in their mind. And so we've got to listen to them. When you hear her saying, I wouldn't pay that for it, excuse me, what's your next question?
What would you pay, or ask her?
Yeah, how much would you pay? Because you want to see where her mind's at. All right, and then all of a sudden you say, so if we can incentivize this, and we can, because really, for you to be able to afford this, we've got to be able to pay more money. But for us to pay more money, there has to be more margin, or there has to be more flow through. The reason why we want to do this is so that all of us can do better, right? That's why you incentivize people. And you say, oh, well, I get paid enough. Okay, well, you get paid enough. Leave your case at home then.
Do you normally make sure that employees can't see any of your product pricing?
No, well, unfortunately, I have franchisees and they all know my product pricing. It was one of the worst mistakes I made.
Because that's with the software that I use at the salon. They can see the wholesale pricing of products once we put it in the computer.
Yeah, no, I personally, I don't think that that's wise.
Okay.
And it's not because I want to hide things from people. It's because I know that they've got their own case going on. You know, we've got this.
It's a hard one, because if I'm not there and product orders come in, the invoices come with the product orders.
Yeah,
so the girls will tick off, and they'll see that on that invoice.
Yeah, no. That's when I write this down. You get delivery dockets and they PDF the price of the invoice to you. So what you're saying is they want to tick it off as received. So one of the first things that you do is you say to your supplier, I don't want my my delivery dockets priced. I want them as just what's in the order, and then I want you to send me separately a invoice as a PDF.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way you get around that.
I didn't know that I could do that.
That's what I do. I don't want anyone to know what I pay.
That's where I felt it's been a bit hard, because, as I was saying, everything comes in and it's all priced.
Yeah, no. Ask for delivery docket, non-price delivery docket. Ask every one of your suppliers if they can do non-price delivery dockets, and say that you want a PDF with the invoice sent to you after the fact.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay, I got to get moving now. So,
Okay.
Megan, how do you feel? What do you take away?
Kelly, I feel good about today. I take away, I think, a better understanding of the pricing of the face masks, and I was a little bit, I was quite interested to see how you go about doing the pricing structure. So it's actually really got me thinking about moving forward and contacting stockists and that sort of thing. I take away also the pricing, the delivery dockets. I didn't know that you could actually do that. So that's interesting. And I think that'll change a little bit of the perception with the girls in the salon if I do take away the access to the pricing. So, Kelly, how do you feel about today, and what do you take away?
Well, I feel good because I think we're moving, and I think the real point I want to emphasize to you is that you're taking a risk, and it's our job to mitigate that risk. That's why we have to understand the pricing. That's why we have to understand the timings. That's why we have to understand the education and the environments. We're working on all of that stuff, so it'll all come together. But ultimately, what really is going to matter to us, Megan, is your ability to communicate what we're doing.
Mhm.
I mean, we can put a great deal together, no problem. You can see what we're doing that. But what it's really going to come down to is how do we communicate that great deal to make it profitable for us? That's the key to the whole thing. It's not just, oh, we're really good at product. No, we're good at business, period. And that's what I want you to be, is good at business. You're already good at the stuff that you do. I want us to be really good at understanding this and promoting this. And so, when you get another 10 or 15 years under your belt, you want to know that you've created something beyond a salon that, sometimes, some days you can sell it, other days you can't give it away.
Mhm.
You want to design something that takes care of your future. You want to develop that asset.
Yes.
So I think we're well on task. So thank you for that. Let's look at it. And I'm more than willing to come in on a Saturday. No problems at all. And it's all part of what we discuss. It's all part of the weekly thing. And I'm not going to charge you any extra because when I'm more interested in success.
Thank you, Kelly.
So if you want me to come in for an hour, no problem.
Okay,
A couple hours, no problem.
that would be fantastic.
All right. You just work it out for yourself.
Will do. Thanks, Kelly. You have
Thank
a
you.
good day.
Okay. Bye-bye.